Hello, fellow map makers. Welcome to this week's live mapping session. Hope to see quite a few new faces or have a few new people watching me. I don't see any faces, unfortunately, from the Humble Bundle campaign and from the new users who've joined the Facebook group. I'm Raf Shaman of Fantasy Software. And tonight I want to show you a bit of adding lighting and shadows to your dungeon maps to make them more atmospheric and give them that certain extra that looks good in display and might be a good background for a virtual tabletop session. So let's take a look at our campaign cartographer. For the new users who are joining us today, let's give you a quick overview over the interface. The big thing here with a little example drawing is the drawing area where all the action will take place. To the left of that is the symbol catalog window where we have symbols like doors and torches and furniture to place on the map. And to the left of that is our main toolbar with all the drawing tools up on top, lots of editing functions below. The color bar to the left of that, where you can choose some of the colors, though I fairly rarely use that. Above the drawing area is the catalog toolbar, which lets us switch between different symbol catalogs. Currently open is the wall features catalog. For example, if I click on furniture, it will open up a catalog with furniture symbols. Above the catalog toolbar is the file toolbar, where we can start new maps, which we're going to do in a minute, open and save files, print, and switch between all the different add-on menus here on top. Today we're going to be using the Dungeon Designer 3 menu. And above that is the properties bar, which shows us the current drawing properties of any entities we place on the map. They will like drawing sheets, layers, the width of lines, colors, and so on. And to the very left is the coordinate tracker that shows us at which map coordinate the cursor is at the moment. Above that is the actual menu where you can select all the tools and commands as text as well. And finally, to the right of the drawing area is the CAT toolbar, where all the basic CAT tools and drawing functions are, including zoom options up on the upper right. Alright, we want to start a new dungeon. I'm going to start by actually drawing a little dungeon and then adding lights to that. To start a new map, we're going to click the new button up here on the file toolbar. I'm not going to save my changes. And then we get to choose from the different map types we have available. I'm going to go for a dungeon. So I'm going to choose dungeons, click next. And then we're going to choose the basic Dungeon Designer 3 style called DD3 Dungeon. If we look up a little, you can see we actually have an annual issue for lighted dungeons, but that's from quite a few years back. I think it was in the second year of the annual. And that has some presets for doing lighted dungeons, but I want to show you how to set things up because that's very useful if you want to add lighting to an already existing dungeon drawing of your own. So we're going to choose DD3 Dungeon, click next, and set a small map so we can all actually see something happening here on the screen. So let's do a 150 by 120 feet sized drawing area, and I'm not going to add any map titles or scale bars to this. So I'm just going to click finish and name the file, and here's our basic empty drawing area. And with the dungeon tools all loaded up, if you had a different menu open, starting a new Dungeon Designer map would bring up this menu as well. So we're all set up to start drawing here. And we're going to start by adding a few rooms, connecting them with corridors, and add a little cave. So we have a layout that we can work with. So I'm going to click the Add Room button. My settings are already set up in a way that are quite nice for this type of dungeon. Stone grey floor and flagstone texture for the walls. And so I'm not going to change anything in here. Just going to click OK. And I'm going to start by drawing a big room in the center. Add another big one up on top. A smaller one down here. Actually, I'm gonna do a different shape. So just to show you, just gonna do a no, I didn't want to do a rectangular room. I wanted to do a polygonal room. Click, see the map grid is on, the little white buttons. That means each point I click will snap to such a point, and you'll automatically have a very regular dungeon layout without having to bother about drawing straight lines. Or like I did here, I forgot a line, so I can just undo, or I think I'll just leave it as something different. I could also go in and edit the room, but I'll leave it at this. And I'm also going to draw a circular room just to show you the tool. So this is going to be enough for rooms. We just need to connect these with corridors. So I'm going to click the corridor button up on the left. It's basically the same layout as the room, except it lets you set the width of the corridor. Let's do a small one first. Click OK. And you can now connect the corridor to existing rooms. See here, if you want to break a gap into the wall, which I want to do, you do press B, like the command line says. Click on the wall. See the corridor is connected to the wall here. Next point, and then just press B again and connect to the next wall. I'm going to do a little redraw by pressing Ctrl R, or you can use the button here on the right to get rid of any drawing artifacts. Campaign Cartographer does not refresh the screen after every little operation. That saves you time and makes drawing maps much quicker and more convenient. Okay, let's continue with another corridor. Let's do one down here. You can connect to circular rooms just as well. See. And another one. Oh, actually I wanted to do a wider one up here. So I'm just going to click again and set my corridor width to 10 feet. One of the grid points here on the map are 5 feet apart. And just do more like a little big entrance there than a corridor to the side room. And another one I want to do an entrance to the corridor, basically like going up to the surface. And I'm going to add that here on the left side of the room. And that was a wrong click. So there we go. There's my big corridor that leads outside. And what I wanted to do was a cave. We've got a cave drawing tool for that. Up here, this button, just click that and you'll see that this gives me a nice irregular outline for my cave wall. You can draw up to the map border and it will limit itself to that map border. And right click to finish. And then I need a little bit of corridor leading into the cave. And for this I want a smaller corridor again, 5 feet corridor. Press B to connect it to the circular room wall, and then just draw it here on top of the. See, there's something happened there, that it looks longer than intended. That's because that was the next grid point there, and as I said, clicking will snap the point to the next grid point. So I'm going to show you how to do this a little bit differently. Click the corridor again, all the same, just connect it to the circular room here, and then turn off snap, and see this time the end of the corridor does not snap to a grid point. Turn it back on again for my next operations. And there's my corridor connecting the dungeon to the cave. So that's fairly quick and easy so far. Let's turn on sheet effects so you can see shadows, the first wall shadows and stuff. Lighting is going to come later. See, that looks a bit nicer than the plain unadorned dungeon layout. Now I want just to add a few symbols, so I'm going to show you a bit of the catalogs here. Say I want the up and down catalog, I want a stair way to lead upstairs here. I do know this corridor is 10 feet wide, and I do need a 10 feet stair for that. And if I click the little plus icon here, that shows me that there's a group of symbols, and I was looking for the gray one. And this is the one I want, because it's got the upwards arrow. So I'm going to put this here. My snap is on. That means if I click here, it will fit in the location. But what you see is that the shadow end of the stair there casts the shadow, which I don't really want. So I'm going to move this symbol to a different sheet. I'll right-click the Sheets and Effects button for that, so move to Sheet, select the stair by clicking on the edge of the symbol, press D for Do It, and then I'm gonna place it on the symbols flat sheet. That means it doesn't cast a drop shadow. Refresh, you can see the shadow is gone. Just got a quick question in, how did I rotate the stairs? Good question. If I pick up this another symbol again, what you can always do, you can, as the command line says, hold down Shift to rotate it in the symbol. So you just move the mouse and it rotates that. But for layouts like these, it's often more convenient to use the arrow keys, because these align in the 4 cardinal directions. So left alignment, top, right, and bottom alignment. Okay, so next the door. We want a nice big door here into the entrance of our main room. So I click the Wall Features catalog and pick up, I want to half open, so I can have some lights shining through the slightly open door here later. Just going to place that, so there's a nice big double door. I'm going to do a heavier, again I'm going to use the arrow keys to rotate the doors. Place the one down here. And this is see, for this doesn't work because it's the 45 degrees, but I can use the Shift key to rotate that again. And I'm not going to place a door up here. All right, so that's some doors. Now let's pick up, say this is an altar room, like an underground temple. I'm gonna load the Temples and Statues catalog I've got some nice altars in here. And this has some candles burning on it, which will give us a nice excuse to place some lighting later. So I'm gonna take that and gonna place the altar here at the end of the room. What else have we got? Actually, this one, I'm still on the symbols flat sheet, so I'm gonna move this symbol again to the normal symbols sheet. So you can see the altar does cast a shadow now. And got some pillars here. Let's take these here. It's a bit large, the smaller ones are nicer. And let's place a few pillars here. At the side of the room. Up here on the north, I'm gonna add something else from the Elemental and Magic catalog, because I have this nice lava pit here, nice and big, and some, I guess, some sacrificial victims will gonna be chucked into it, and we can put some nice lighting on this one. So this time I'm gonna remember the change to the symbol sheet before I place the symbol. So I go to symbol flat. Obviously it's a pit, so it's not gonna cast a shadow itself. There's my lava pit. So we're not going to bother about the other symbols and the cave so far. I think it's time to add a few lighting things to come to the meat of this session. So the Dungeons menu does have the commands for adding lights. It's not something you normally do in a dungeon layout, so it's a bit tucked off in the menu, but it's all here. We can use that. And to start off, we're just gonna add a light, and I'm gonna add a new sheet specifically for my light objects. I'm just gonna call that lights. You see, I add that from the drawing sheets and effects dialog. And actually I'm gonna move it up just above the text sheet. So this is the current sheet we've selected now, and I'm also going to do a layer for this. So I can hide and show lights easily, and above all can select them easily too, because selecting by layer is always a convenient option. Okay, so let's start by adding kind of a fiery glow to the lava pit. For that I want to choose a reddish or orangey color, pretty bright. It's a light after all. And then I'm gonna do dungeons, lights, and add a light. First point is the center point of the light. I could add several here because of the large bit, but I'm just going to do one. So I'm going to place that in the middle. And then I can define the direction and radius of the light. Because our light will be shining all around, the direction is not so important, but the radius is. See how far we want to have the light extend. And do it a good bit, because light tends to spill quite a ways around a big light source like the lava pit here. So let's do this. And then you can define the area the line shines out to. I'm going to do a 36 degrees around light on the first one here, but I'm going to show you a different one later. So I'm just going to right click to accept the 360 degrees, and then the light dialog comes up. It's going to be a light source, not a viewpoint, and this is the radius we defined. And the default intensity is always 50, and I find that a bit too low for lights usually, otherwise my maps get too dark. So I'm going to set this to 100. You can go above 100. This is the color of the light. What I'm going to check is I'm going to make this a vari-color light. That means the color the light casts will always be the same as the color of the light object. It's two different things. And that way we can later easily change the color of the object to if we want to change our light. Otherwise we have to edit the light object, and that's just a little bit more complicated. Going to leave this here because that's the direction and angle we've set previously. I'm just going to click OK. See, and nothing much has happened. What's up? Well, what's up is we haven't actually added any light effects to our map. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show the light symbols. Show light symbols. See, the cross here is our actual light object. And normally you don't have another anything visible but the light. But for editing purposes, it's obviously very convenient to know where the lights are actually placed. So this cross helps you with that. And now we do need to add a lighting effect to our map. See what we actually we have the light. What we do need is something that casts shadows. So what does cast shadows? The walls will. Basically, the walls of the dungeon will block all the light. So I'm going to open up the Sheets and Effects dialog, and I'm going to select the Walls sheet. And what you see here on the map is the directional shadow. We're going to turn that off because that's going to interfere with our lighting shadow. Then I'm going to add, and you've got the wall, the shadow effects down here. What we need is a point light setup. That tells us any objects on the sheet we are placing this effect on will cast shadows. And the walls do block the light completely. That means their shadow length is infinite, and we need to put in 0 here. Okay. Apply. And see, it's pretty dark. Because now the map calculates shadows, and this is the only light source we have placed, so this is the only thing we can see, because the default shadows are fully dark, 100% opacity. We can change that, which I will do now, because that makes it easier to move around the map and edit it stuff. For that we do need the global sun options, and those are available if you right click the display speed icon up here. Global sun. See, the lighting is activated. We could turn off the whole lighting for the map, but simply by unchecking this. And I don't want any blurs on the shadow, but I only want a 50%. I want a 50% transparency of the shadows, so we can see some more of the map. Click OK, and see, there is our layout back. We just see that the lava pit is lighted by the glow from the lava. You can also already see a little bit of the shadow cast on the corners. Here in the entrance, the light spills out into the bigger room. And we're going to use that for more dramatic lighting effect. Basically what I want is, say this leads to the entrance and the sun is shining outside, so the big daylight is spilling down the corridor and falling through the slightly open doors into the main temple room. So I do need a new light, and for full daylight I'm going to use white as the color. Oops, that was the wrong one. Color 15. And now I'm going to do dungeon lights and light again. It's going to originate here from the top of the stairs. And this one's going to be large and strong, but as you can see from the lava light, it doesn't extend fully. That's the maximum range the light will spill. Oh, let's do here up to the altar. And now here I will just do 180 degrees basically, so the light doesn't shine outside the map on the other side. Here we go. We're gonna do a strong white light, 150%, all in white. And there you can see the corridor is brightly lit and the light falls into the main room. But there's a problem, you say, and you're right. The doors don't cast any shadows. Well, that's because we haven't applied any shadow effects to them. Let's do a little quick check where we placed those doors, probably on the wrong sheet, as if I know myself. Do a list from the info menu, select that, press D for do it, and it's on the symbols wall sheet. That's not too bad actually. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the symbols wall sheet and also add shadow effect, wall shadow, point light setup. Again, the doors would block, or actually we could try it that the light spills a little bit around it. Let's try along a 15 feet shadow length. For that, click apply. You can see the main light falls down here, but the doors, no, it's not quite what I want. I think for the doors, full block would be better. So yeah, that's how I imagined it. See, the light falls just through the gap in the doors and onto the altar. You'll see these little two lines. That's because I'm zoomed down pretty far and the light effects are calculated on a per pixel basis. And basically it finds a gap here at that resolution, but since the resolution will be much better at export or printing, this will only appear if you zoom out on the map. See, a little more effective about that. Don't worry about that. This will go away if you print or export the map. Okay, so we've got this. Here's something else I can show you, just a little oddity. Lights can only be rendered on screen if the light object is actually in the displayed area. See, my light is off to the left now, and that's why the light here is suddenly gone. That's just something to keep in mind. We're going to talk about that a little bit later when printing and exporting the map. But just to be sure, the light is there, and if you zoom out, the light effect will be back again. So let's add a few more smaller lights here for the altar. Or actually, let's start out by that. So candle lights, I'm going to give them a warm yellowy glow. And let's add dungeon lights, add light. Zoom in a little bit more. Center the light on the candle. Ahaha. For that I do need to turn off snap, obviously. So don't make it too small and not too large. It's just a candle after all. 30 to 6 degrees. And say a 75% intensity. Turn effect on. That's pretty small. Well, I can show you more. Can show you the edit function, because we can edit an existing light. So, actually, I can just use the edit command for that. Numeric edit down here on the left. Click on the light, and here the light dialog comes up. So let's make it a bit larger, 5 feet and 90% intensity. Okay, see, got a bit lighter. And now I'm gonna add, no, it's actually, I was looking for some candles. We have those in the furniture catalog. See, here's a candle. And I wanted to spread a few more candles around here. Just people placing candles on the floor on the altar. Go. And now we can take the one candle we've done and the light. Let's finish this. Use copy the light, do it, and just copy the light source to each of the candles. Doesn't need to be totally exact. So, and if you see, all the lights add up together and make everything pretty bright. But I'm seeing something, what the candles do, they actually cast shadows themselves. They are on the symbol sheet, and that's not what I want them to do. First, let's take a look at the symbol sheet. It does have a directional wall shadow, which doesn't ignores any light sources. So I'm going to turn this off and add a directional shadow. And this time it's just going to be a certain length, 5 feet. And you see this is all kind of weird now here. The candles have different lighting shadows and stuff. We don't want the candle symbols to actually cast any shadows. So what we're going to do is we're going to move them to a different sheet. Move to sheet. Select all the candles. And now we do need to unselect the light objects because they are supposed to remain on our light sheet. So I'm going to go combine and, it's a logical operation, entity type, all symbol references. So see, all the light objects are deselected, only the candles are still selected. And I'm going to move these to new sheet. We're going to add sheet symbols, no light, no shadow. Go. Move this up just below above the normal symbol sheet. Go. Okay, and I've done something wrong. I have to check here. Light, symbols, no shadow. What have I done here that the candles are still casting shadows? Does look correct. Actually, I do need to do a proper redraw. That's everything I needed to do. So there you can see. Let's turn off the light symbols for a moment so we can see the proper look of the altar room here with the candles. And what I also wanted to do, I wanted to add a little general light to the room, so the pillars cast just a little shadow. For that, I'm just gonna add a slightly bluish light to the room. I have to go back to my lights sheet and the lights layer. Symbols, dungeon, lights and light. Just in the center of the room here. 360 degrees. I leave the intensity low for this one. The color is good. I'll see a little bit of general lighting in the room just to give it a little bit more contrast. And what I wanted to do is add the light symbols again. Show the light symbols again. So here we go. Actually, I might want to add a few more lights here to the room. What I just remembered that I of course wanted to add some torches on the walls. So load up the wall features catalog. We've got a nice burning torch here, and this can be lined as well. And we're gonna put that on the symbols torches sheet. And if you move the mouse over the walls, you will see that the torch aligns to that wall. It makes it easy to place it in the correct direction on the wall. Let's place one here. Or I can actually turn on the snap again. And then the first time you click, you get the option to set the distance of the torch from the center of the wall. Because our wall is 1 foot wide, it should be half a foot away from the wall to be sitting just exactly on the outside. So I'm just gonna type in 0.5. That's actually the already selected default. And you can see the torch symbol sits exactly. And for the next one, I can just right click to accept the same distance. Let's put a couple here next to the door. See. And now we do need some lights on the torches. So let's go back to the lights sheet. This time I'm using the keep or exact properties function. If I use that on an existing symbol, like on this existing object, like the light object here, it will set all my drawing properties to that object's properties. And we do need a yellowish light for the torches. Lights and light, and this should definitely be stronger than the candles. So let's make this fairly large. 360 degrees, 100% intensity. See how that looks. And here you can see that the pillars are casting nice shadows from the torch glow. And again, I'm just going to copy the existing light for the torch over to the other torches. Always much easier than drawing a fresh light for every light source. Here we go. We're spoiling lit. Oh, actually, we don't see the light spilling from the entrance because we've zoomed in. Yeah, looking good. And then I wanted to add a little bit of furniture in here. Zoom into this room, click the furniture, and we've got some nice candelabras and I think a nice lab table here. If we can place here, and then let's put a candelabra on top, if I can find it. There it is. You can scale and rotate symbols by holding down Shift and Control. Put it here on the edge. Okay, again, I think for that I'm just going to take one of the torch lights and copy it over. See, you've got a nice bit of lighting in that room. If you want to set a symbol back to its standard size, just right click while it's on the cursor and use the set normal button. Let's place another cupboard here. Some bookshelves. And do we have another nice layer? Let's put a cloth here on top of the desk and then 2 candles next to it. And again, I'm gonna take the light object. This time I selected, if you can see, let's click here, that I've actually selected 2 objects. The command line tells me that. That means I hit something else but the light. Obviously the candelabra symbol. So I'm gonna do a combine, not, and I don't want any symbol references selected. I'm gonna click OK. And then I can press D for do it and copy the light over to the candles here. Okay. It's pretty good. For the cave, I wanted to give a little bit of just ambient lighting. So I'm gonna do something like some softly glowing mushrooms and mold. So I've got these nice purplish mushrooms here. Actually, yeah, I've got some larger patch like this. Rotate them a little to give them a bit more variety. And then I'm gonna add another light. Turn lights, add light, click here, nice ambient glow, 360 degrees, and I'm going to make the intensity even a bit lower, 40%, and I should give this a nice purplish color. Perhaps it's actually a bit too dark, so let's make that higher intensity. See, that's better. But I see the mushrooms are actually casting shadows, which they probably should not do. So I'm going to use my trusty move to sheet command again. Use the combine action to select only the symbol references, do it, and move it to the symbols flat sheet. There we go. That looks pretty good. See, they're glowing there. I might turn off the grid actually. See it a bit more closely. Then we have some slime. That could also be some bit of mold. And for that, I'm gonna obviously do a greenish glow. Lights sheet, dungeon, lights, add light, 360 degrees, 65 intensity, and refresh. And there we've got a nice little greenish glow. Okay, there's something more I want to show you. Say I want to add some text here on the map. So I'm gonna change to the text sheet and the layer text labels. And let's say it's the temple of the fire god. Nice for the lava. scale the size. Oh, actually should have set some nice font, but we can always do that later. Center. I'm using the keys to align the text for C for center and M for middle. Let's place this here. And let's change the properties of that, because I didn't want the light green color. Instead I want the white. It should be white text. Sometimes the floating command prompt can get a bit in the way. And then we wanted to change text properties. Let's take a look what we got. Some nice marriage script is always quite no, perhaps not for this dark dungeon. Thought had some medieval types font. See, cartography. Too many fonts in here. Castellan Antique is always nice. Take this. And the text has an outer glow, which I want to get rid of. But you can see it's pretty dark. It's not the white I wanted. Why is that? That's because the shadows affect the text. Basically, the whole map is under 50% shadow opacity. And obviously we don't want that on the text. And for that we need to tell you our sheet effects that the light effects have to end at some point. So it's always, I can use the lights sheet for that. I can just say add. And for that we've got the other wall shadow effect here, point light finalize. For that we can also define the colors of the shadows, but we're going to leave it at black here. And this will tell you only everything after this sheet will not be affected by shadows. Click OK. See, that affects both the text. It's nice and bright white now. And you can also see it on the map border. It's the bright yellow gold again, and not the darkened version with the shadows on. So what else can we do? We can turn sheet effects off at this point. Not sheet effects, sorry. The light symbols, of course. And you could also add a grid at this point if you wanted to. Say a black, draw X or square overlay, the typical 5 feet grid, no labels, apply. Let's also get a bit of a effect that we can perhaps leave out. We don't want the glow. And what we can do, see, we only want the grid on the floors and not on the symbols and the walls. So you can move the grid up until it is just above the floors. So everything else will be on top of the grid. And that looks pretty good. Okay, let's take a look whether we've got any questions that arrived in the meantime. John Goranson, what was the setting again to activate the light? That's if you right click the display speed settings, global sun. That's so if I deactivate this here, the shadows will just go on the way on the map and activate it again. And as I said, you can set the deepness of the shadows here. I can say I want only a 25% opacity of the shadows. See, everything is going to make the light effects stand out a lot more, as you can see on the room here, but it will also make the rest of the map much less visible. Or if you want to just have some softer light effects, turn up the transparency to 75%, and you'll see a lot more of the map. I think the 50% is a nice compromise. Sorry. Okay, and Sue's got another question. Can you make a menacing black light that glows darkness? Of course you can. That's just the color of the light we're setting. Actually, we can give that a try. So let's say we have this room here and want to add a deep pit. Say we've got the pool here. Pool is quite nice for that, I think. We're gonna place that on the symbols flat sheet. So it's pretty dark. Now let's add a couple torches first at the walls. And let's grab a torch light, show the light symbols again first. Go in here, say copy, not the symbol. Okay, do it. Grab this and turn off snap and place this lighting objects here on the torches. Zoom in again. I think, yeah, I need to move the torches to the correct sheet. Do it. Symbols, torches. There we go. See, that's better. And now we want to have some darkness spreading out from that pool. So we're just gonna set our sheet to lights again. Layer to lights. Leave the color at black. And do dungeon lights, add light, starting from the center of the pool. Here, 360 degrees. Let's experiment, 50% intensity, perhaps a bit more, 75. Okay. Okay, does that work? No, that does not work. So I thought perhaps it can't be black, but let's hide the grid first so I can actually edit the light here. See, let's make it a dark gray. See whether that works. No? Okay, so using a black darkening seems not to work. I have to look into that. I thought dark lights would work as well, but I can't get it to work here at the moment, and so we're just gonna erase this light again. Sorry, Sue. Nice idea, but I can't get it to work at the moment. So one more thing I wanted to show you, and that's got to do with the exporting and symbols displaying. So turn off the light symbols, hide light symbols, there we go. Want to export that. If you export it, so let's show you. If I do a file, save as rectangular section PNG, lighted dungeon. Options are fine. Or let's make it a bit, actually, let's make it a bit larger so we can actually see perhaps, or it might be too large, but let's give it a try. Let's see. No, okay, so this is too much for my system. Something should have checked earlier. Say 8000 by 8000 pixel. There we go. It's gonna take a little moment rendering at this size. And the problem is, you see the passes up there, the rendering image pass 1 of 2. That means it splits the image into 2 sections. And that means light from objects in one section won't spill over into the other section. And let's see whether we have a border in here in the result. But that can mean that large lights get lost at some point. Then you'll just have a straight line where the light ends. That's obviously not something you want. For that, you have to either change your export settings a bit smaller, or what I'm going to show you, you can change what your campaign cartographer can export memory-wise. Let's have a look here. Yeah, we've got some unfortunate stuff with the export happening here with the torch symbols. And I'm not entirely sure that's got to do with what I wanted to show. But let's have a look whether we can improve that. I think let's have a look at because I think the torches here are actually still casting shadows, and that's the problem. Info list. Yeah, these torches are on the symbols wall sheet, which casts a shadow. So let's hide everything but that, and let's move these torches to a proper sheet, but not the door. That's still got a cast its shadow. Put these 2 symbols torches. Show everything again. Let's see, we don't have these strange artifacts. That's because we placed we've placed the light directly on top of the torch, which is also cast a shadow, and that creates all kinds of problems with the intersection of the edge of the symbol and the light source. So that was fixing the export of the torches. The other thing I wanted to show you is this is actually a text command. On that export set max pixels per pass 3 piece. And this is lets you set what size campaign cartographer can export in one go. I've set it to 60 million here. That's a pretty big number, but that's basically because you're multiplying your X dimension and Y dimension export pixels. And you can increase that. 60 million is already pretty high, so I'm not going to increase that here any further. But the default setting for campaign cartographer is somewhat lower. And you can set it to something like this, and then you can export even a map like this in one pass. And I'm going to show you how this is going to look. So save as rectangular section PNG, and I'm going to lower the size for that, so you can see it going in one pass. Again, I'm going to top left corner, bottom right corner, and you take a look at the export status. See, it's only one pass. All the whole image will be exported in one pass here. And so if you've got too many passes in here that interfere with your lights, then use that export setting that I showed you, which I'm also gonna note in the video description below, to increase your possible export size. See, and there's our lighting. Much better. No strange artifacts from the torches. And here's our properly lighted map with the torches, the slightly phosphorescent mushrooms, the slime, the lava pit, the sun falling in to the temple room from the entrance. And that's how you can add lights and shadow effects to your maps. Hope that was useful for you. And let's have a look whether we have any more questions coming up. Okay, Chris mentioned that there might actually have been an effect with the light. I probably should increase the intensity of the black light. Let me give that a try. I'm curious myself. So let's add another light. Symbols, dungeon, lights, add light. Center point here. Size, and let's give it 150% intensity. No, I still can't see any difference. So, can't get it to work here. I'll check that out perhaps, but it's quite possible because it's shadows casting and stuff that dark colors won't work with that, with the rendering engine. It might have to change the color of the overall shadow or something. Well, if I come across a way to do this, well, you can obviously do it in other ways. Let's give you just a little bonus action here, and to add a dark glow or dark shadow on top of the pool. So let's just call that a new sheet. Actually, yes, that's correct. Shadow. Move down. Here we go. And just draw. Oh, I think no, I've done too much and managed to crash my. Oh, no, okay, there we go. I need to change the fill style to solid. And I'm just gonna draw a big old circle on top of the pool. And then I'm gonna add effect to that, add edge fade inner. Let's make that a nice big, how big is that? 10 feet, in opacity 80%, outer opacity 0, or let's actually make that 90%. It's still a bit too bright. Let's make the inner opacity 100% and the edge only 5. There you've got your menacing black shade on the pool. It slowly gets darker as you go inside the circle. So don't need an actually light for that. It's not gonna cast any shadows anyway. So an edge fade effect like this is probably anyway the better way to do this. Alright, so that was the little bonus command at the end. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed lighting up the dungeon. See you again next time, and have a great rest of the week. Bye bye.